My name is Evan Porter, and apparently, I'm the punchline to my wife's favorite joke. The setup goes like this: successful software architect, decent salary, owns his house, treats his wife well. The punchline? I'm 5'6" and weigh about as much as a decent-sized golden retriever. Seriously, how did I even end up with him? Talia was saying to her friends around our dining room table, holding up her phone with my driver's license photo displayed like evidence in a murder trial. Look at this little guy. I could probably bench press him. Her friends, Jenna West and Danielle Pruitt, erupted in laughter that sounded like hyenas discovering a wounded gazelle. I stood in the kitchen doorway, holding a tray of the appetizers I'd spent 2 hours preparing, watching my wife of 8 years turn me into entertainment. "Oh my God, Talia," Jenna wheezed, wiping mascara tears from her eyes. "You're terrible. But seriously, what were you thinking?" "I was young and stupid," Talia replied, taking a long sip of the wine I'd bought specifically for this dinner party. "I thought personality mattered more than, actual physical presence." I cleared my throat and stepped into the dining room. "Ladies, the bruschetta you requested." The table went quiet for exactly 3 seconds before Danny snorted. "Did you have to climb on a stepladder to reach the top shelf for those tomatoes, Evan?" More laughter. I set the tray down gently, smiled, and looked directly at my wife. "You know what, Talia? Maybe you should go find something bigger. I hear they're having a sale on dildos at Spencer's." The laughter faded instantly. Talia's face turned the color of our burgundy curtains. "Evan!" "What? I'm just trying to help solve your size problem." I turned to her friends. "Ladies, enjoy the food. I'll be in my office if anyone needs me to reach something from a low shelf." I walked out, leaving behind a silence so thick you could have cut it with the knife I'd used to slice those goddamn tomatoes. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I'd noticed things. Little things that added up to one big, obvious thing that I'd been too trusting, or maybe too stupid, to see. Talia's phone, which used to sit casually on counters and tables, now lived permanently attached to her hand or buried deep in her purse. She'd started working late at her marketing coordinator job, which was funny because I knew for a fact that her company had cut overtime budgets 6 months ago. Her gym membership, unused for 2 years, suddenly became essential for her mental health. But the real kicker was the night I woke up at 2 a.m. to find her texting someone in the bathroom with the door locked. "Who texts at 2 a.m.? I asked when she slipped back into bed. "Jenna. She's having relationship problems." Jenna's been divorced for 3 years. New relationship problems. The next morning, I casually mentioned to my coworker Derek that Talia was helping Jenna with relationship advice. Derek, who'd met Jenna at several company parties, raised an eyebrow. "Jenna? The one who thinks relationships are like Netflix subscriptions? Cancel when you get bored and find something better?" "That's the one." "Yeah, she's not asking for relationship advice, she's giving it." Derek Lang was the kind of friend who told you when you had spinach in your teeth, when your presentation sucked, and when your wife was probably cheating on you. We'd worked together for 5 years at Morrison Tech Solutions, and he'd never sugarcoated anything. "You want my honest opinion?" Derek asked, leaning against my cubicle wall with his coffee mug that read, "World's Okayest Employee." "Do I have a choice?" "Your wife's been treating you like a practice husband for months. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I looked up Talia's social media accounts, not the public ones I was tagged in, but the private groups Derek had mentioned seeing her in. It took some digging, but I found it. A closed Facebook group called Ladies' Night Confessions with about 30 members. The posts I could see made my stomach turn. "Update on my situation," Talia had written 2 days earlier. "Still stuck with the same problem, but I found a solution at the gym. 6'2", personal trainer, and everything my current situation is not." The comments were worse. "Girl, you deserve better than settling." Jenna. "Life's too short for small packages." Danny. When are you going to upgrade already? Someone named Michelle. But the post that really got me was from last week, right after our dinner party disaster. Talia had uploaded 3 photos, one of me sleeping, one of me reaching for something on a high shelf, and one of me standing next to our tall neighbor for comparison. The caption read, "Ladies, meet my starter husband, reliable, house-trained, and adorable in a rescue pet kind of way. But a girl has needs, you know? Thank God for my gym membership." 47 likes. 47. I screenshot everything I could access, which wasn't much, but it was enough. Then I sat in my car in the Morrison Tech parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at my phone and feeling something I'd never felt before. Not anger, not hurt, but something colder and more focused. Derek knocked on my passenger window. "You look like someone just told you Santa Claus was a lie." I rolled down the window. "Worse. Someone just told me my marriage was a lie." "Shit. You found something?" "I found everything." "What are you going to do?" I looked at the screenshots on my phone, then at the wedding ring on my finger that suddenly felt like it weighed 50 pounds. "I'm going to remind everyone that the smallest man in the room isn't always the weakest." Derek grinned. "Now, that sounds like a plan. You need help?" "Not yet, but stick around. This is going to get interesting." That night, Talia came home at 9:30 p.m., claiming she'd been at a work strategy session. She smelled like cologne that definitely wasn't mine and had that post-workout glow that was suspicious, considering she was wearing a dress and heels. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, kissing my cheek with lips that tasted like lies. "Educational," I replied. "I learned some new things about social media." She paused, but just for a second. "Oh, like what?" "Like how easy it is to find private groups if you know where to look." Her face went pale, but she recovered quickly. "That's nice, dear. I'm exhausted. I'm going to shower and go to bed." As I listened to the water running upstairs, I opened my laptop and started planning. If Talia wanted to play games, I'd show her what a real game looked like. And if her friends wanted to be spectators, well, they were about to get front row seats to a show they'd never forget. The joke was about to turn, and I was going to make sure I got the last laugh. The next morning, I woke up before Talia and made coffee like always. But instead of reading the news, I spent an hour documenting everything I could find. Bank statements showing charges at restaurants I'd never been to, credit card receipts from a hotel downtown on days when she claimed to be working late, phone records with a number I didn't recognize, called frequently and for long periods. I wasn't a detective, but I didn't need to be. Talia was about as subtle as a neon sign in a blackout. The number belonged to Colton Brewer, personal trainer at Apex Fitness. I knew this because his Instagram was public, and he'd posted several stories at the same hotel where my credit card had been charged. In one video, I could see a woman's hand with nail polish, the exact shade Talia had been wearing that week, a garish purple she called Royal Rebellion. Colton was everything I wasn't: tall, muscled, and blessed with the kind of jawline that belonged on romance novel covers. He was also, according to his relationship status, dating someone named Vanessa Martinez. Apparently, I wasn't the only one being played. "Morning, babe," Talia said, appearing in the kitchen wearing one of my old t-shirts that somehow looked better on her than it ever had on me. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind." She poured herself coffee and leaned against the counter. "Anything I can help with?" The audacity was impressive. "Actually, yes. I'm thinking about joining a gym." Her coffee mug froze halfway to her lips. "A gym?" "Yeah, I figured it's time to work on myself. Maybe get bigger, you know? I was thinking about Apex Fitness. I hear they have great trainers." "Apex is expensive," she said quickly, "and far from your work. There are closer gyms. But I heard they have this trainer, Colton something, supposed to be really good at helping people grow." Talia set her mug down so hard it cracked. "I think I hear my phone ringing upstairs." She practically ran from the kitchen. I heard her bedroom door slam and the muffled sound of a frantic phone conversation. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was pure panic. 20 minutes later, she came downstairs fully dressed and ready for work, even though she usually lounged around in pajamas until the last possible minute. "I have to go in early today," she announced. "Big presentation." "On a Wednesday?" "It's a Wednesday kind of presentation." After she left, I made my first real move. I called Morrison Tech's legal department and asked about asset protection during marital disputes. Then I called our bank and transferred our joint savings into an account in my name only, perfectly legal since I was the primary account holder. The house was already in my name alone, a decision I'd made years ago for tax purposes that was about to pay dividends. By lunchtime, I'd quietly secured everything that mattered. Talia could keep her car, her clothes, and her gym membership. Everything else was mine. Derek found me eating a sandwich in the break room, probably looking like I'd just robbed a bank and gotten away with it. "You look different," he said, sitting down across from me. "Lighter somehow." "I feel different, like I've been carrying around a backpack full of rocks and just realized I could take it off." "So what's the plan? Divorce lawyers, private investigators, public humiliation?" "Why choose just one?" That afternoon, I drove to Apex Fitness. The place was exactly what I'd expected. Mirrors everywhere, music loud enough to wake anyone, and enough testosterone in the air to choke a horse. I signed up for a day pass and asked specifically for Colton. He was easy to spot. 6'2", blonde hair, and a smile that had probably launched 1,000 affairs. He approached me with the enthusiasm of a used car salesman. "Hey there, you must be Evan. I'm Colton. Ready to get swole?" I almost laughed. "Actually, I'm here because of my wife." His smile flickered. "Your wife?" "Talia Porter. She's been raving about this place. Says you've been very attentive to her needs." The color drained from his face. "I don't know what you mean, man." "Sure you do." I pulled out my phone and showed him one of the screenshots from the private Facebook group, the one where Talia had posted about her gym solution. "She's been very detailed about your sessions together." Colton looked around nervously. The gym was busy, full of potential witnesses to whatever was about to happen. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble." "Neither do I. But trouble seems to have found me anyway." I picked up his protein shake from the nearby counter. "You know what's funny about being small? People underestimate you. They think you're weak, that you'll just take whatever they dish out." "Dude, I'm sorry if they think you won't fight back." I looked him straight in the eye and smiled. "They're wrong." Then I knocked the protein shake out of his hand. It exploded across the floor in a spectacular splash of chocolate and artificial sweeteners. The entire gym went quiet. "Oops," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Guess I'm not as coordinated as I thought. Must be all that practice reaching for high shelves." Colton stood there, dripping with protein shake, while 20 people watched and several pulled out phones to record. His reputation as the smooth professional trainer was melting faster than ice cream in July. "Clean up on aisle douche," someone called out, and the gym erupted in laughter. I handed him a towel from the nearby rack. "Thanks for the workout tips. I'll be sure to tell Talia you said hi. Oh, and Colton, you might want to check with Vanessa before your next session. I have a feeling she's going to want to discuss your training methods." I walked out of Apex Fitness feeling 10 feet tall. That evening, Talia came home in a mood that could have curdled milk. She slammed doors, threw her purse on the counter, and stomped around the house like a toddler having a tantrum. "Rough day at work?" I asked innocently. "You could say that." "Want to talk about it?" She spun around, eyes blazing. "Did you go to my gym today?" "I went to a gym. I told you I was thinking about joining one." "You humiliated someone I know." "Really? Who do you know at Apex Fitness?" The trap was so obvious I could practically see the moment she realized she'd walked into it. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Someone told me." "Someone told you that I accidentally spilled a protein shake?" Wow, News travels fast in the fitness community. It wasn't an accident. Prove it. We stared at each other across the kitchen, and for the first time in our marriage, I saw something new in her eyes. Fear. I'm going to bed, she said finally. Sweet dreams. Try not to text anyone too late. You know how Jenna gets when her sleep is interrupted. She flinched and headed upstairs. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then opened my laptop and began crafting an email that would change everything. The subject line read, "Regarding employee conduct and social media policy violations." I attached every screenshot I'd managed to capture, along with a detailed explanation of how Talia Porter, marketing coordinator, had been using company time and resources to conduct personal affairs and share private, intimate images without consent. I sent it to HR, her direct supervisor, and the company's legal department. Then I poured myself a glass of wine, the good stuff Talia had been saving for special occasions, and waited for the fireworks to begin. The next morning, Talia's phone started ringing at 7:30 a.m. She answered it in the bathroom with the door locked, but I could hear her voice rising in pitch and panic through the thin walls. What do you mean HR wants to see me? About what? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. She emerged 20 minutes later, fully dressed and looking like she'd aged 5 years overnight. Everything okay? I asked, not looking up from my newspaper. Fine, just some workplace drama. The kind that requires emergency meetings with HR? Her coffee mug slipped from her fingers and shattered on the kitchen floor. How did you... Lucky guess. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. But she was too panicked to think clearly, and that was exactly where I wanted her. I have to go, she said, leaving the broken mug for me to clean up. Have a great day at work, honey. I hope everything works out. 2 hours later, Derek appeared at my cubicle with a grin that could have powered a small city. Dude, you need to see this. He showed me his phone, which was displaying a post from the neighborhood Facebook group. Someone had recorded yesterday's protein shake incident at the gym and posted it with the caption, "Local man destroys cocky trainer with one simple trick." The video had been shared 43 times and had over 200 comments, most of them laughing at Colton's humiliation. But the best part was in the comments section, where someone had tagged Vanessa Martinez. Her response was a single word. What? It gets better, Derek said. Keep reading. Vanessa had posted her own comment an hour later. That's my boyfriend getting humiliated by some random guy's husband. Colton, we need to talk. Now. Think she knows about Talia? Derek asked. She's about to. I pulled out my phone and found Vanessa's Instagram. She worked as a dental hygienist, lived in a nice apartment downtown, and based on her posts, genuinely loved Colton. She deserved to know what kind of man she was dating. I created a fake Instagram account and sent her a direct message with screenshots of Talia's Facebook posts, along with a simple note. Thought you should know who your boyfriend has been training. Then I sat back and waited. I didn't have to wait long. At 2:30 p.m., Derek appeared again, this time with his laptop. You have to see this. It's happening right now. He'd pulled up Apex Fitness's public Facebook page, where someone was live streaming what appeared to be the world's most spectacular breakup. Vanessa had arrived at the gym with a suitcase full of Colton's belongings and was systematically throwing them into the parking lot while screaming in both English and Spanish. Lying piece of shit! Training married women? I'll show you training. A pair of expensive sneakers sailed through the air and landed on the roof of a parked car. Think I'm stupid? Think I don't know what personal training means? His protein supplements followed, exploding across the asphalt like nutritional confetti. The live stream had over 500 viewers and climbing. Comments were pouring in faster than anyone could read them, most expressing support for Vanessa and calling Colton various creative names. Holy shit, Derek whispered. She's throwing his PlayStation out the window. His second-floor window, I corrected. The PlayStation landed with a satisfying crash, and the crowd of onlookers cheered. Colton appeared in the frame, trying to salvage his belongings, while Vanessa continued her systematic destruction of his life. "You want to train people?" she shouted. "Train yourself to be a better person." She slapped him across the face so hard the sound echoed through the parking lot, then got in her car and drove away, leaving Colton standing in a pile of his own possessions while dozens of people recorded his humiliation. The live stream ended, but the screenshots were already spreading across social media like wildfire. Jim Karma was trending locally within an hour. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you. I needed to know. V." I texted back, "Everyone deserves the truth." "What happens now?" she replied. "Now he learns that actions have consequences." At 4:15 p.m., Talia called me at work. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Evan, I need you to come pick me up." "Where's your car?" "It's here, but I can't drive right now, please." I found her sitting on a bench outside her office building, clutching a cardboard box and looking like someone had run over her dog. Her face was blotchy from crying, her mascara had created abstract art on her cheeks, and her hands were shaking. "What happened?" I asked, though I already knew. "They fired me," she whispered. "HR said I violated company policy about social media and personal conduct. They said I shared inappropriate content and brought the company into disrepute." "What inappropriate content?" She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "You know what content." "Do I?" "The photos, the posts. Someone sent them everything." "Everything?" "Screenshots of the private group. The things I said about—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "About me?" She nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. I sat down next to her on the bench, close enough to smell her perfume mixed with the salt of her tears. "Talia, why would you post those things?" "I don't know. I was angry and frustrated, and the girls were encouraging me." "The girls?" "Jenna and Danny. They said I deserved better, that I was settling, that I should explore my options." "So you explored Colton?" She flinched. "How did you—" "The same way HR found out. The same way Vanessa found out. The same way everyone's going to find out." Her face went white. "Everyone?" I showed her my phone, which was displaying the viral video of Colton's public humiliation. "Your boyfriend had a rough day, too." She watched in horror as Vanessa threw his belongings out the window. "Oh my God. He's not going to be training anyone for a while. Apex fired him about an hour ago. Something about creating a hostile work environment and violating their professional conduct policy." Talia buried her face in her hands. "This is a nightmare. This is consequences." We sat in silence for a few minutes while she processed the complete destruction of her secret life. Then she looked at me with desperate eyes. "Can we go home? Can we talk about this?" "Sure. But Talia?" "Yeah?" "We're not talking about forgiveness. We're talking about what happens next." The drive home was silent, except for her occasional sniffles. When we pulled into our driveway, she turned to me with the kind of hope that only appears when someone has lost everything else. "Evan, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this, right? We can work through this?" I looked at her sitting in the passenger seat of the car I'd bought, holding the box of belongings from the job she'd lost, wearing the clothes I'd paid for, and I felt something I'd never felt before: complete and total control. "Talia, you made your bed. Now you get to figure out who you want to share it with. But it won't be me. And it won't be in this house." "What do you mean?" "I mean you have until Sunday to find somewhere else to live. The house is in my name, the bank accounts are frozen, and your credit cards are canceled. You're on your own now." "You can't do that." "I just did." She stared at me in shock, finally understanding that the small, quiet man she'd been humiliating and betraying had just taken away everything she'd taken for granted. "Where am I supposed to go?" I started the car engine. "I hear Jenna gives great relationship advice. Maybe she has a couch you can borrow." For the first time in months, I felt exactly the right size. By Friday morning, Talia's humiliation had gone viral in our social circle. The neighborhood Facebook group was buzzing with gossip about the cheating wife who got fired and the gym trainer who got destroyed by his girlfriend. Someone had connected the dots and figured out that the small husband from the protein shake video was married to the woman from the workplace scandal. I discovered this when my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, approached me while I was getting my mail. "Evan, dear, I just want you to know that everyone thinks you handled this with remarkable dignity." "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson." "That wife of yours, though," she shook her head disapprovingly, "posting those awful things about you online. And with that trainer boy, some people have no shame." Apparently, someone had leaked the audio from the bar conversation I'd recorded weeks ago, the one where Talia's friends had discussed her upgrades and mocked our marriage. It had been posted to the neighborhood app, and now everyone within a 5-mile radius knew exactly what Talia Porter thought of her husband. The comments section was brutal. "Imagine being so insecure you have to humiliate your spouse publicly. That poor man, he seems so nice too. She's getting what she deserves. Karma is a beautiful thing." When I got to work, Derek was waiting with coffee and a shit-eating grin. "Dude, you're famous. My girlfriend showed me the neighborhood app this morning. Your wife's friends are getting roasted alive in the comments." "Her friends?" "Jenna and Danny. Someone figured out they were the ones encouraging her to cheat and post those photos. Now everyone's calling them toxic friends and homewreckers." He showed me his phone. The neighborhood app had become a full-scale discussion about friendship, loyalty, and the dangers of toxic social circles. Jenna and Danny's names were being dragged through the digital mud by dozens of people who'd recognized them from the leaked audio. "Jenna's getting divorced," Derek continued. "Her husband found out she was encouraging your wife to cheat while she was having her own affair with her personal trainer." "Different personal trainer?" "Same gym, different trainer. Apparently, Apex Fitness was like a buffet for unhappy wives." The irony was delicious. At lunch, I drove past Talia's parents' house and saw her car in the driveway. She'd clearly taken my eviction notice seriously and moved back home. I felt a brief moment of sympathy, imagining her trying to explain this mess to her conservative religious parents. That sympathy evaporated when I got home and found my front door scratched up and my security camera ripped from the wall. The backup camera I'd installed in the garage had caught everything. Talia and Colton had shown up around noon, apparently planning to break in and retrieve her belongings. When they couldn't get past the new locks I'd installed, Colton had tried to force the door while Talia acted as lookout. They'd given up after a few minutes, but not before Colton had kicked my flower pots and Talia had keyed "asshole" into the side of my garage door. I called the police and filed a report, providing them with the video evidence. Then I called my lawyer and added attempted breaking and entering to the growing list of reasons why this divorce was going to be very one-sided. But the best part came at 6 p.m. when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Talia's father, Robert, standing on my porch with the kind of expression that could wilt flowers. "Evan, we need to talk." "Of course, Mr. Harrison. Come in." Robert Harrison was a retired bank manager who'd always liked me. He was old-school polite, believed in hard work and personal responsibility, and had zero tolerance for what he called modern nonsense. "I want to apologize for my daughter's behavior," he said, sitting heavily in my living room chair. "Linda and I are mortified." "You don't need to apologize, sir." "Yes, I do. We raised her better than this." He looked around the house where he'd shared countless family dinners, where he'd helped me install new cabinets, where he'd always been welcomed. "She told us what happened. About the cheating, the photos, getting fired. I'm sorry you had to find out that way. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you handled this exactly right. I wasn't sure how to respond to that. Evan, I've known you for 8 years. You've always been good to my daughter, good to our family. You work hard, you're honest, you treat people with respect. He paused. She threw that away for some muscle-bound idiot who was cheating on his own girlfriend. Yes, sir. And now she's back home, crying to her mother about how unfair life is, how you've ruined everything, how she made one little mistake. His voice got harder. One little mistake, like cheating is something you do accidentally. What did you tell her? I told her she made her choices, and now she gets to live with them. I told her she's welcome to stay in our house until she gets back on her feet, but she's not welcome to badmouth the man she betrayed. He looked me straight in the eye. I also told her that if I ever hear about her vandalizing your property again, she can find somewhere else to live. You heard about that? Son, the whole neighborhood heard about that. Mrs. Patterson saw the whole thing and called everyone she knows. Your wife and her boyfriend trying to break into your house in broad daylight? That's not just stupid, it's criminal. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. What are you going to do now? He asked. Divorce her. Move on. Try to rebuild. Good. He stood up and shook my hand. You deserve better than what she gave you. Always have. After he left, I sat in my living room in my house, surrounded by my things, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. See. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to the police officer handling my case, along with a note. Harassment evidence for case 2024 15847. Then I texted back, "You're right. It's just getting started." 2 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Colton, and he was furious. You think you're real smart, don't you? Smart enough to know this conversation is being recorded? There was a pause. What? All my calls are automatically recorded and backed up to the cloud, so please continue threatening me. My lawyer loves evidence. I'm not threatening you. Then what would you call it? I'm just saying that you can't destroy people's lives and expect no consequences. You're absolutely right. That's why you and Talia are dealing with consequences right now. You set me up. You got Vanessa to dump me. I gave Vanessa information. She made her own choices, just like you made yours when you decided to sleep with married women. You're a pathetic little man. And yet, I'm the one who won. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer to report the harassment. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and started planning the final act of this drama. Sunday was coming, and I had a show to prepare. Saturday morning brought unexpected visitors. I was drinking coffee and reading the newspaper when my doorbell rang at 8 a.m. Through the window, I could see Jenna and Danny standing on my porch, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. I opened the door but left the security chain attached. Ladies, this is a surprise. We need to talk, Jenna said, trying to project confidence she clearly didn't feel. About? About what you've done to Talia, and to us. What I've done? Danny stepped forward, apparently playing bad cop to Jenna's worse cop. You've ruined her life over one mistake. That's not normal, Evan. That's psychotic. I unhooked the security chain and opened the door wide. Please, come in. I'd love to hear more about how I'm the villain in this story. They entered cautiously, like they were walking into a trap. Which, in a way, they were. Look, Jenna said, sitting on the edge of my couch. We know you're hurt. We get that. But destroying someone's career, their relationship, their reputation, that's going too far. Is it? Yes. She made a mistake with that trainer, but she loves you. She wants to work things out. I sat down across from them, noting how they avoided eye contact. Interesting. When did she decide she loves me? Before or after she lost her job, her boyfriend, and her house? She's always loved you. Danny insisted. She was just going through a rough patch. A rough patch that involved posting intimate photos of me online without my consent? They shifted uncomfortably. A rough patch that involved mocking our marriage to strangers? More shifting. A rough patch that involved you two encouraging her to cheat and calling me names behind my back? Now they looked genuinely worried. I pulled out my phone and opened the audio recording from the bar. Would you like to hear yourselves discussing my wife's need to upgrade from her pathetic little husband? Jenna went pale. You recorded us? You were in a public place, talking loudly about private matters. I just happened to be nearby. That's illegal. Actually, it's not, but posting intimate photos without consent, that's illegal. Encouraging someone to commit adultery while they're using marital assets? That's grounds for a lawsuit. Harassment and attempted breaking and entering? Those are criminal charges. Danny leaned forward aggressively. Are you threatening us? I'm educating you. There's a difference. Look, Jenna said, trying to regain control of the conversation. We're sorry about the things we said. We were drunk. We were being stupid. But you can't hold that against us forever. I'm not holding it against you. I'm just making sure everyone knows who you really are. What do you mean? I showed them my phone, which was displaying the neighborhood app. Their names were trending in the local gossip section, and not in a good way. Jenna West, recently divorced, currently unemployed after her boss found out she was using company time to coordinate affairs and gossip about other employees. Jenna's mouth fell open. How did you? Your ex-husband was very helpful when I explained how you'd been encouraging other women to cheat while hiding your own affair. Turns out he had suspicions about your girls' nights and was grateful for the confirmation. I turned to Danny. Danielle Pruitt currently on administrative leave from her teaching position while the school board investigates complaints about her social media activity and unprofessional conduct. That's not fair, Danny protested. I never posted anything inappropriate. No, but you did encourage a friend to post intimate photos of her spouse without consent. And when parents found out their children's teacher was involved in that kind of behavior, I shrugged. Well, you know how protective parents can be. They stared at me in horror, finally understanding that their actions had consequences beyond their little social circle. You're destroying innocent people, Jenna accused. Innocent? I laughed. You encouraged a married woman to have an affair, helped her humiliate her husband publicly, and celebrated the destruction of an 8-year marriage. In what world are you innocent? We didn't force her to do anything. No, you just created an environment where betrayal was celebrated and loyalty was mocked. You turned my marriage into entertainment for your pathetic little social group. I stood up, suddenly feeling very tired of their presence. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my house and never come back. You're going to stop contacting me, stop trying to manipulate this situation, and stop pretending you're victims. And if I hear about any more harassment, vandalism, or threats, I'll make sure everyone in this city knows exactly what kind of people you really are. You can't do this to us, Danny whispered. I already have. They left without another word, and I watched through my window as they sat in Jenna's car for 10 minutes, probably planning their next move. But I wasn't worried. They were amateur players in a professional game, and they'd already lost. Sunday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn weather that made everything feel like a fresh start. I was in my kitchen making breakfast when I heard cars pulling into my driveway. Through the window, I saw Talia getting out of her father's truck, followed by Colton climbing out of a beat-up Honda Civic that had definitely seen better days. They were clearly there to collect her belongings, probably hoping to avoid another confrontation. I opened my front door before they could knock. Talia, Colton, right on time. We're just here to get my stuff, Talia said, not meeting my eyes. Of course, everything's packed and ready to go. I gestured to the front lawn, where I'd arranged everything she'd left behind. Her clothes were in garbage bags, her personal items were in cardboard boxes, and her collection of romance novels was stacked neatly beside the driveway. The only problem was that it had rained heavily overnight. "You left my things outside?" she asked, staring at her soggy belongings. "I left your things on my property for you to collect, as requested. Not my fault you didn't check the weather forecast." Several neighbors had emerged from their houses, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Patterson was pretending to water plants that clearly didn't need watering. The Johnsons were walking their dog very slowly past my house. Even the teenagers from down the street had found reasons to hang around outside. Colton stepped forward, trying to look intimidating. "This is messed up, man. You can't treat people like this." "I can treat people exactly like they treated me." "She's your wife." "She was my wife. Now she's just someone who used to live here." Talia started crying as she opened the first garbage bag and found her favorite dress soaked and probably ruined. 8 years of marriage, and this is how you treat me? 8 years of marriage, and cheating on me with a gym trainer is how you treated me. The growing audience of neighbors murmured among themselves, clearly enjoying the free entertainment. "I made a mistake," Talia sobbed. "People make mistakes." "People make mistakes," I agreed. "But you made choices. You chose to cheat. You chose to humiliate me. You chose to post intimate photos of me online. You chose to mock our marriage to strangers. Those weren't mistakes, Talia. Those were decisions." Colton started loading the soggy boxes into his car, clearly wanting to end this public spectacle as quickly as possible. But Talia wasn't done. "I loved you," she screamed. "I still love you." "No, you don't. You love the security I provided. You love the house, the financial stability, the comfortable life. But you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent months making me the punchline to your jokes." She collapsed onto the wet grass, sobbing dramatically. "Please, Evan. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can fix this." I looked down at her, kneeling in the mud beside her ruined belongings, and felt absolutely nothing. "Talia, get up. You're embarrassing yourself in front of the entire neighborhood." "I don't care." "You should. These people are going to be talking about this for years." She looked around and seemed to notice the audience for the first time. Mrs. Patterson waved cheerfully. The Johnsons' dog wagged its tail. The teenagers were openly recording with their phones. "This is all your fault," she whispered. "No, this is all your consequences." Colton finished loading the car and helped Talia to her feet. She was covered in mud and grass stains. Her hair was a mess, and her makeup had run down her cheeks in black streaks. "Come on," he said quietly. "Let's go." They got in his car and drove away, leaving behind only the memory of the most spectacular public breakup our neighborhood had seen in years. Mrs. Patterson approached me as the crowd dispersed. "Well, that was quite a show, dear. I'm sorry about the disturbance, Mrs. Patterson." "Oh, don't apologize. Best entertainment we've had since the Hendersons' Christmas light display caught fire." She patted my arm. "You handled that very well. Very dignified." "Thank you. That girl never deserved you anyway. Too pretty for her own good. Not enough character to match." As I watched my neighbors return to their houses, probably already calling friends and family to share the gossip, I realized that this was exactly how I'd wanted it to end. Not with violence or illegal revenge, but with the simple, devastating power of public accountability. Talia had wanted to make our marriage public entertainment, so I'd given her exactly what she asked for. The only difference was that this time, I was the one who got the last laugh. 3 weeks later, I thought it was over. The divorce papers were filed, the assets were divided, and Talia had moved in with Colton in a studio apartment across town. My life was finally returning to normal. Then Derek showed up at my office with a grim expression and his laptop. "We have a problem," he said, setting up the computer on my desk. "Talia and her boyfriend are planning something." He showed me a screenshot from Instagram. Colton had posted a gym selfie with the caption, "Time to settle some scores." Small men think they can disrespect real men and get away with it. Time for a reality check. Justice is coming. Small man syndrome. The post had dozens of supportive comments from other gym bros, all talking about teaching lessons and putting people in their place. There's more, Derek said, scrolling to another screenshot. Talia's been posting in some private groups, claiming you abused her, stole her money, and destroyed her life for no reason. She's trying to build a narrative where you're the villain. Let me guess. She's got people believing it. Some people. The ones who don't know the real story. He showed me more screenshots. She's planning some kind of confrontation, something public where she can play the victim and make you look like the bad guy. When and where? Tonight. Your house. She's telling people you have belongings of hers that you won't return, and she needs witnesses to help her get them back. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. How many witnesses? From what I can tell, her, Colton, Jenna, Danny, and maybe 5 or 6 other people who believe her sob story. Against just me? Against just you. Unless... Derek grinned. You want some backup? What kind of backup? The kind that comes with cameras, witnesses of our own, and a very clear understanding of what really happened. 2 hours later, I was at home preparing for what would either be the final chapter of this saga or the beginning of something much worse. Derek had reached out to our co-workers, several of whom had offered to come over as neutral witnesses. Mrs. Patterson had volunteered to record everything from her window. Even my lawyer was on standby, ready to document any harassment or threats. But my secret weapon was something none of them expected. At 7 p.m., just as the sun was setting, 3 cars pulled into my driveway. Talia got out of the first one, followed by Colton and 2 men I didn't recognize. Jenna and Danny emerged from the second car, with another woman who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. The third car contained what appeared to be Colton's gym buddies, 3 guys who looked like they'd been carved from protein powder and steroids. I opened my front door and stepped onto the porch, noting that several neighbors had conveniently found reasons to be outside. Derek and 2 co-workers were visible across the street, pretending to work on Derek's car. My security cameras were recording everything. Talia, I said calmly, this is unexpected. You have my things, she announced loudly, clearly performing for her audience. I want them back. What things? My grandmother's jewelry, my photo albums, my personal items that you're keeping out of spite. This was interesting, considering I'd given her everything she'd asked for 3 weeks ago. I don't have any of your belongings. You took everything when you moved out. That's a lie. Colton stepped forward, flanked by his muscle-bound friends. You're holding her stuff hostage because you can't handle being dumped. Dumped? I almost laughed. Is that the story you're telling people? Everyone knows what really happened, Jenna said, stepping up to support her friend. You couldn't satisfy your wife, so you destroyed her life when she found someone who could. The crowd of witnesses murmured, and I could see some of them nodding in agreement. Talia had clearly done her homework, crafting a narrative that painted her as the victim of an abusive, controlling husband. That's an interesting story, I said. Very creative. It's the truth, Talia shouted, working herself into tears. You stole my money, kicked me out of my own home, got me fired from my job, and now you won't even let me have my grandmother's jewelry. Your grandmother's jewelry, I repeated. The jewelry that's been in your safety deposit box for 3 years? She faltered for just a moment, but recovered quickly. You know what I mean. Actually, I don't, but I know what you're trying to do. I pulled out my phone. You're trying to create a scene where I look like the villain and you look like the victim. You're hoping someone will record this and you can use it to support your fictional narrative. It's not fictional, she screamed. Really? Then you won't mind if I play some recordings from our marriage? I pressed play on my phone, and Talia's voice filled the evening air. Look at this little guy. I could probably bench press him. Her face went white. Or maybe this one. Another recording. I thought personality mattered more than actual physical presence. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Or how about this? The audio from the bar. Life's too short for small packages. Talia's supporters were starting to look uncertain. Colton stepped forward aggressively. Those recordings are illegal. Actually, they're not. But you know what is illegal? Harassment, trespassing, conspiracy to commit vandalism. I looked directly at him. Threatening someone over the phone. I never threatened you. I played another recording. This isn't over. You think you're real smart, don't you? His gym buddies suddenly looked less enthusiastic about being there. Here's what's really happening, I announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. My ex-wife cheated on me with this man. She posted intimate photos of me online without consent. She mocked our marriage publicly and encouraged her friends to help her humiliate me. When I exposed her behavior, she lost her job, her boyfriend lost his job, and they both faced consequences for their actions. That's not, Talia started. Now she's here with a group of people, trying to intimidate me into, what exactly? Taking you back? Giving you money? Apologizing for exposing your affair? The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. The truth is, Talia, you're not here for your belongings. You're here because you can't handle the fact that the small, quiet man you spent months humiliating turned out to be stronger than you expected. You destroyed my life, she sobbed. No, I revealed your choices. There's a difference. Colton, apparently deciding that intimidation was his only remaining option, stepped closer. You think you're tough, little man? I think I'm smart enough to know that you're being recorded by 6 different cameras right now, and anything you do to me will be evidence in a criminal case. He looked around and seemed to notice the neighbors, the security cameras, and Derek's group across the street for the first time. This is bullshit, he muttered. This is consequences, I corrected. Then something beautiful happened. Mrs. Patterson emerged from her house with a plate of cookies. Excuse me, she called out sweetly. I couldn't help but overhear. Are you the young lady who was cheating on Evan? Talia stared at her in horror. Because I just want you to know, dear, that everyone in the neighborhood thinks Evan handled this situation with remarkable class. Much more class than you deserved. Other neighbors started emerging from their houses, nodding in agreement. The Johnsons came out with their dog. The teenagers from down the street appeared with their phones ready to record. Even the elderly couple from the corner house made the trek over to see what was happening. Suddenly, Talia and her group were surrounded by dozens of people who knew the real story and weren't buying her victim narrative. I think it's time for you to leave, Mrs. Patterson continued, still holding her cookies. This is a nice neighborhood, and we don't appreciate drama. We're not causing drama, Jenna protested. Sweetie, Mrs. Patterson replied with the kind of smile that could cut glass, you brought 8 people to one man's house to intimidate him over a lie. That's the definition of drama. The crowd of neighbors murmured their agreement. Colton's gym buddies were already backing toward their car, clearly wanting no part of whatever this had become. This is harassment, Danny shouted desperately. No, I said quietly. This is community. These people know me. They've watched me work on my house, help my neighbors, contribute to this neighborhood for 8 years. They've also watched you try to break into my house, vandalize my property, and now attempt to intimidate me with a group of strangers. I looked directly at Talia. You want to know the difference between us? I built something here. I earned respect through my actions. You're trying to tear it down with lies and manipulation. I hate you, she whispered. I know, but I don't hate you. I just don't care about you anymore. That hit her harder than any insult could have. She stared at me for a long moment, then broke down completely. Please, she begged, falling to her knees in my driveway for the 2nd time in a month. Please take me back. I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better. The entire neighborhood watched as my ex-wife groveled in front of the man she'd spent months humiliating. It should have felt satisfying, but it just felt sad. Talia, get up. I love you. No, you love the idea of not facing consequences for your actions, but that's not how life works. Colton helped her to her feet, and I could see in his eyes that he was already planning his exit from this relationship. Being with Talia had cost him his job, his apartment, his previous girlfriend, and now his dignity. He was doing the math and realizing the price was too high. Come on, he said quietly. Let's go. As they walked back to their cars, I called out one last time. Talia? She turned, hope flickering in her eyes. Next time you want to make someone feel small, remember that size isn't about height or weight or physical presence. It's about character. And by that measurement, you're the smallest person I've ever known. She crumbled completely, sobbing as Colton helped her into the car. Jenna and Danny followed without a word, their own humiliation complete. The gym buddies had already disappeared. As the cars pulled away, the crowd of neighbors began to disperse. Mrs. Patterson handed me her plate of cookies. Those are for you, dear. You've had quite an evening. Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. That young lady is going to have a very difficult life if she doesn't learn to take responsibility for her actions. That's not my problem anymore. Derek appeared at my elbow, grinning from ear to ear. Dude, that was epic. The way you just dismantled her entire narrative in front of everyone. I just told the truth. The truth delivered with surgical precision. He looked at the cookies. Are you going to share those? We sat on my porch, eating Mrs. Patterson's cookies and watching the neighborhood return to its normal evening routine. My phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer. Saw the video footage. If they contact you again, we'll have enough for a restraining order. Another text from Vanessa. Thank you for showing me who he really was. Dodged a bullet. And finally, one from an unknown number. This is Colton. You win. I'm done with this drama. She's your problem now. I showed Derek the last message. Looks like Talia's about to be single again. Think she'll try to come back? Probably. But it won't matter. I'm not the same man she married. I'm not the same man she cheated on. I'm definitely not the same man she tried to humiliate. What are you now? I looked at my house, my neighborhood, my life that I'd fought to protect and rebuild. I'm free. 3 months later, I ran into Talia at the grocery store. She was alone, looked tired, and had clearly been crying recently. She saw me in the produce section and froze. Hi, Evan. Talia. How are you? Good. You? She looked around the store like she was afraid someone might see us talking. I'm okay, living with my parents again, looking for work. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? I considered the question honestly. I'm sorry your choices led you somewhere you don't want to be, but I'm not sorry you're facing consequences for those choices. She nodded, tears starting to form. I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I really am sorry. For all of it. I believe you. Do you think you could ever forgive me? I looked at this woman who had once been the center of my world, who had shared my bed and my dreams and my life, and felt nothing but distant sympathy. Talia, I forgave you months ago, not for your sake, but for mine. Carrying anger around is exhausting, and I had better things to do with my energy. Does that mean? It means I hope you learn from this experience and become a better person. But it doesn't mean we're getting back together. That door is closed permanently. She cried quietly while I selected apples, and when I looked up, she was gone. I never saw her again. 6 months after that, Derek told me he'd heard through mutual acquaintances that Talia had moved to another state, gotten a job at a small marketing firm, and was in therapy. Colton was working at a different gym and dating someone new. Jenna had remarried and moved to the suburbs. Danny had found a new teaching job in a different district. Life had moved on for everyone. As for me, I kept the house, got a promotion at work, and started dating a wonderful woman named Sarah, who thought my height was perfect and my sense of humor was even better. We met at a bookstore, bonded over our love of mystery novels, and built a relationship based on mutual respect and genuine affection. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled the situation with Talia. They wonder if I should have been more forgiving, more understanding, more willing to work things out. My answer is always the same. I gave her exactly what she gave me. The only difference is that I did it with precision, planning, and the kind of patience that comes from knowing you're absolutely right. Talia wanted to make me feel small. Instead, she discovered that the smallest man in the room isn't always the one you can see. Sometimes it's the one looking back at you in the mirror.